Hey folks, welcome to Thinking Theology. I'm Don. I don't take a dogmatic stance on things. I just kind of open the floor up for people to discuss things, but I just look at arguments that relate to theological topics. Even atheistic arguments, I look at those and just say whether or not they make sense or not. Science, National Geographic, Carl Sagan, and also religious arguments, I look at them and say whether or not they make sense to me. So more of a philosophical assessment of things. This is Nassim Nicholas Taleb, as I understand what this is going to be about, on the vacuum or a vacuum left by broad sweeping atheism. I don't know what his faith is. I think he might be Greek Orthodox. Based on the books that I've read of his, I've read The Black Swan, I've read Skin in the Game, Fooled by Randomness, and I'm reading another one of his right now. It's got an orange cover. I forget, but I'm halfway through that one. But on the vacuum left by broad sweeping atheism. So let's see what he's got to say.
Mr. Taleb, you mentioned in Anti-Fragile that you're concerned with the apparent dismantling of organized religion, and
that's the one I'm reading.
The collateral damage that could be done taking an institution that's been around for so long and removing it, and there's things that we don't know. But it seems there's another concern, and that is with technology, especially weapons of destruction type of technology growing, that we're creating a very fragile situation where you have people who believe in afterlife and so on. And play a mind game that if we had a bomb or some kind of weapon that could blow up the whole earth and just destroy everything, how many people would actually do it out of kindness and love?
That's very nice. Your question is good. So let me take the parts. The first one is that I believe that attacking religion is dangerous because the mind abhors a vacuum. And we lost religion. What did we replace it with? Think about it. Rationalism, Russia, Soviet Russia thing. And effectively, I'm going to give you a statistic. The first suicide bombers were not in the Near East, were not Islamic fundamentalists. They were Greek Orthodox, my tribe, communists. All right. Communists in Lebanon, all right? So it's not like suicide bombing is not an invention of Islam. That's the first one. Effectively, people who are religious sort of know, I don't believe, to use a Greek word, pisteic, all right? Religion isn't quite about belief, it's about some ritual. It has worked, except that in the modern world, we have too many religions in contact with each other. They should not be in contact with each other, and it causes, intolerance. I mean, it's not like I'm saying religion is good.
No, arrogance causes intolerance. Talking with people who are different doesn't, because you can learn a lot from other people. If you embrace learning, then you won't have a problem talking with somebody of a different stripe, so to speak.
I'm saying that the absence of religion, we know, is in a vacuum that is easily replaced by all kind of crazy beliefs, like they don't believe in religion, but they believe in economic predictions. I mean, if anyone uses the minimum standards of rationality that you apply for atheism and you apply it on Mr. Dawkins, who's an atheist, use of probability theory, you realize that there's no religious fundamentalism that is more irrational than his, or primitive than his use of probability, you see, or uses of rationality. Like I was arguing with Mr. Dennett, who's a gentleman, with all these atheistic things. They say, oh yeah, no, we have science. Well, what do you mean by science? He says, science can put this building. He says, that's exactly the problem. Look at what science does. Right? It puts up Euclidean structures. All right, this is modernistic. There's this modernistic view of science replacing religion. If you understand science, it's all come from non-scientists. Scientists understand how little we know about the world that is scientific.
True.
How many decisions we take every day that are probabilistic. Okay, how little compared to, and that's what a scientist would say. So this is why it's rarely you find a scientist, who would attack religion, all right, on the grounds that it's harmless. Belief in the stock market or belief in communism or some top-down state is a lot more harmful. That's the first one. The second point, every attempt at eradicating religion makes it come back with a vengeance. And this is, you think if we decide to remove harmful religion on grounds that it makes people blow up, it makes them more intolerant. And we know from the places where they are very religious today, are places where, take Russia, Soviet Union, try to get into, now it's Vespers every night, try to get into a church in Russia. Okay, standing room, of course, there's always standing room, but you can't get close to a church on Sundays, especially. They're so filled, okay? So religions come back with a vengeance when they try to repress them, and we saw that after the French Revolution, we see that in a lot of places, and we see it in Syria, which was Egypt, and Iraq. There were states that were secular states, a la top-down nation state, and how you had a religious boost after, when they were trying to move it. So you cannot eradicate religion from a top-down way, all right? And in effect, it's Dawkins himself who complains that they seem to hold beliefs, and the more evidence you give them, the stronger their beliefs, or the mechanism, or less anti-fragile. You try to bang on something, gets stronger, all right?
The more outrageous their claims.
Yeah. Exactly. But the point is that religion, the third one is more philosophical, and comes back to, now I understand it from, when writing the book, someone corresponded with me, a lot of it was Wittgensteinian, and told me, this Wittgenstein saying it's like the anti, the journey. In fact, he represents that way of thinking. And it's as follows. When I go to a movie, all right, if I took Dawkins to a movie, Dawkins is a guy like Steven Pinker, one of these guys, really simple minds, but, write books. So you take him, you put him in a movie theater, and you make him watch a movie, all right? He would interrupt the movie by saying, "This is nonsense. This is not blood, all right? This is not blood. This is tomato juice." No? Would he do that? No. You go for the ride. Why? You make belief for the purposes. It's called trust. The word belief in English is not epistemic. It's beloved. It has love in it. You stick. It's credere or pistebo. It's trust, right? The word belief has beloved is I trust something for the story. I go for the story. And in fact...
Yeah, I think Semper Fidelis or Semper Fi, I think that Fidelis comes from trust, like the Marine saying. But when we watch a movie or a cartoon, it's a willful suspension of disbelief, where you're like, all right, I know this is a movie. I know that really wouldn't happen, and that wouldn't happen in real life, that particular scene. But let me see how it plays out, because they're sort of depicting a principle or a circumstance. So you suspend your disbelief knowing it wouldn't quite a guy couldn't hang on to a tightrope for 45 minutes or whatever. He would have, or whatever. You suspend it. And he's saying that that's what you do when you watch a movie.
If you think that religion has anything to do with God, you're completely missing the point. Most religions start with rituals and develop deities later, okay, to consolidate it rather than start with the deity and flows to develop rituals.
It's interesting.
Okay, this is what you realize. So religion is something that makes people do things. And effectively, I'm going to give you some of the things that you get out of religion. It's a via negativa, what not to do. There's no way, rationalistically, you could enforce an interdict on debt. And the minute Catholic countries lost Catholicism, they discovered two things in Europe: sex and debt. And they went wide on both. And look at the countries today that has most financial problems: Italy, Portugal, Spain, and Ireland, all right? They're the latest, because Catholicism has a fatwa on lending that was stronger than Islam. If you read Aqidah, if you're a pure proper Catholic, neither borrower nor lender shall be, all right? So if you realize, once you remove religion, you're removing some stuff that come with religion, like interdicts on debt, all right, via negativa. I like the via negativa. Don't do some things. They can only be enforced via religion, all right, initially, because people aren't smart enough to, to do it and reason, and because to transmit the wisdom of the ages, okay? So this is what comes with it. The idea of a God is so minor in religion, not even funny. You see, this is what people don't get it. I mean, I'm offending a lot of people, but by saying God doesn't exist, usually comes last in the whole deal of religion, right? And all kind of formation of beliefs. So this is a credere versus credere means I trust, credit, letter of credit. I give credit to this. So you go for a story, and Wittgenstein gets it by saying our language isn't potent enough to express what we do. So let's not focus on linguistic things called belief. You see, that's what I have to say about religion. So I'm not in support of religion. If something has survived for so many millennia, all right, don't uproot it, okay, unless you better be certain that you're replacing it with something better. And so far, we've been fooled.
Okay, I mean, that's a good point in ways. There are certain things in there that I don't know if they're true or not, just because I haven't looked at them. Like the practices come first and then the deities come next. And immediately what comes to mind is the Mosaic Law and the Shema of Israel, Deuteronomy 6:4, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. But now, did that come first? Moses going up Mount Ararat to get with the tablet to come down with the law, and as in Deuteronomy and such. Was it a belief in the one God, true monotheism? Did that precede Moses going up? Or, these are just questions I've got. Maybe some folks out there know the answers to it. But I do like the idea of, if you're going to take something out from the top down, like if you're going to eradicate religion, like you reference in Russia or in other places where you just get rid of religion. Well, one, it comes back with a vengeance once things change in society or governmentally, and then people standing room only, as he said. But it doesn't seem to work from the top down. So, but what are you going to replace it with? He said there are economic doctrines, there are other types of doctrines you can replace it with, but are they better? And I also like the practical point that he made too, is that if you do try to get rid of those things, like he called it a fatwa, or like, don't do this, like don't lend, or don't charge interest. Like the strict Mosaic law, I think, is you're not supposed to charge interest for your money. Now, there are convenient ways of getting around it. You lend somebody money and they give you a piece of their business. So you're not taking interest, but you are still making money off it. So that's kind of like a convenient way of getting around it. But there are certain realities, customs even, based in the religion, that if you remove that religion, you might be removing the people who are otherwise practicing certain things that are good. So if you take that away, I mean, many of us drink coffee. And I mean, I only have one cup in the morning. That's it. But if I decide to stop drinking coffee, what am I going to replace it with? Maybe nothing. Now, coffee's not a necessity. Some of us think it is. It's like you get out of bed, and that's the reason initially for getting down into the kitchen and getting on with your day, is there's a coffee machine is down there in the kitchen. But what are you going to replace it with? You can replace it with orange juice. That's better, probably. But we've got to look at, what do you replace it with if you go the atheistic route? And folks who have been involved in religion and later became atheists maybe did it because they had a bad experience. Others who sort of moved out of it, like myself, did it because I looked at the biblical texts. I rewrote the New Testament in my own words. It took over a year and a half. Then I rewrote it again. And I realized that a lot of the assumptions I had made about the text and the origins, the divine origins of them, were discredited in over 100 places in the text themselves. That caused me to throw my faith back into the reassessment bin. But I had legitimate reasons, and I crawled my way, in a sense, out of it, and it was very uncomfortable. Then I had to find out what I believed, not about God, but what do I believe about life? What do I believe about the way I want to live? And I believe in compassion and other such things. But what do you replace a religion with? There's a vacuum there if you just get rid of it. And it could be worse things involved. But those are practical reasons, not epistemological reasons for it. Those are practical concerns. What happens to society if you get rid of something or introduce something into it? That's very practical. That's not merely theoretical. So, all right, guys, that was good stuff. There was a lot in there. Leave your comments. I read them. Please subscribe if you've made it this far, certainly. Have a great day. I'll see you on another video and keep thinking theology.